reason everybody loves you is because you're so fucking violent. Don't forget to stay violent. Violence is key, bro.
Oh, big shots. Big shots by Jon Jones.
In trouble here. Jones to the body. And it is all over. He goes out. Jon Jones remains.
Jon Jones is an American MMA fighter who is widely regarded as the greatest of all time. His mixed martial arts career peaked at an early age when he captured the lightweight heavyweight title at 23 years old to become the UFC's youngest ever title holder, a record that stands to this day. Throughout his career, Jones has made extraordinary fighters look like amateurs thanks to his physical gifts and an incredibly high fight IQ. As a fighter, Jones is close to perfection, but as a person, well, a lot of people think he flat out sucks. That ultimately brings us to the question: is Jon Jones a villain, a legend, or a combination of both? Let's take a closer look at his reign. Born on July 19, 1987 in Rochester, New York, Jones is the third of 4 children. Jones proved to be an exceptional athlete at a young age. In high school, he became a wrestling state champion and played football as a defensive lineman. He was given the nickname Bones by his football coach because of his lanky frame. At the age of 20, his girlfriend revealed she was pregnant. Knowing the money he was making wasn't enough to support a family, Jones decided to drop out of college and begin training professionally at the Bomb Squad facility in New York. In no time, he made a successful start to his MMA career by stopping Brad Bernard,
raising his hand a little too soon. And if he didn't have the intention of Bernard before, he has it now.
In a little over 90 seconds on April 12, 2008. Fast forward 4 months, Jones was 6-0 and got his first call from the UFC. In his promotional debut, Jones put the light heavyweight division on notice with a comfortable decision win over Andre Gustafsson at UFC 87. He then faced a major step up in competition in his second UFC fight against the late great Stefan Bonner, bagging a second consecutive decision victory.
System for his conditioning. The greatest.
So you guys want to get home?
The most significant.
In his fourth UFC fight, however, Jones suffered a disqualification loss after pummeling Matt Hamill with illegal elbow strikes.
Therefore, the winner is Matt Hamill.
Jones was dominating the fight up until the stoppage and was left completely distraught as a result. Even UFC President Dana White was unhappy with the disqualification, and to this day, he believes that the result should be overturned. However, Jones bounced back in incredible fashion nonetheless, steamrolling Brandon Vera, Vladimir Matyushenko, and Ryan Bader in consecutive fights to earn his shot at the light heavyweight title. Rashad Evans was originally scheduled to face Mauricio Shogun Rua for the belt at UFC 128, but after he pulled out due to injury, Jones was handed the task. The two legends battled in a clash for the ages, but Jones was the better man on the night by a mile. As good as Shogun was at the time, he didn't have an answer to Jones's unpredictable striking, incredible pressure, and chain wrestling. After 2.5 rounds of getting badly beat up, Rua was put out of his misery by the referee, and Jones made history by becoming the youngest champion in the UFC at 23.
To the body. And it is all.
In his first title defense, Jones dominated Quentin Rampage Jackson to earn a 4th-round submission victory, and in his second title defense, he put Lyoto Machida to sleep in one of the most horrifying submissions in UFC history.
It is all over. Jon Jones remains.
Credit where it's due, Jones was competing in one of the toughest divisions in the UFC in his heyday against the absolute pioneers of the sport. Thanks to his consistently dominant performances against some of the best fighters of their era, Jones rose to unimaginable heights of fame and became the face of the UFC. But as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. Jones's competition got tougher every time he stepped inside the octagon as the champion, and his toughest test came against Alexander "the Mauler" Gustafsson in his 6th title fight in 2013. The Swede used his size and reach to great effect and exposed the holes in Jones's game, but the champion was ultimately declared the winner after a closely contested fight. Afterward, Jones claimed that he hadn't trained for the fight, which is why it was close. He proved himself in his rematch with Gustafsson 5 years later in 2018 when he beat him convincingly. Throughout his career, Jones has had his share of rivalries, but none was as bitter as the one with Daniel Cormier. The bad blood between the two dates back to 2010, but things escalated to another level in one of their pre-fight face-offs ahead of UFC 178, where Cormier filled in for an injured Gustafsson. As soon as the two had a stare down, things became physical as they had to be separated by UFC officials. Jones was handed a $50,000 fine by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and ordered 40 hours of community service in Las Vegas for his brawl with Cormier. The two faced off in a grudge match at UFC 182 in January 2015, and Jones left the cage with his head held high after thoroughly dominating Cormier, becoming the first person to take the Olympian down in a mixed martial arts contest. Days after the fight, however, Jones tested positive for cocaine in an out-of-competition test that was conducted prior to UFC 182 and was handed a $25,000 fine. Jones's year went from bad to worse after his involvement in a hit-and-run incident that left a pregnant woman injured in April 2015. A day later, he was stripped of his light heavyweight title and suspended indefinitely by the UFC. Jones was reinstated by the UFC 5 months later and returned to the octagon to face Ovin St. Preux in an interim light heavyweight title fight in April 2016. He won the fight by decision and was booked to unify the titles against the then-champion Daniel Cormier at UFC 200, but he was pulled from the event after being flagged for a doping violation. He was handed a 1-year ban and was stripped of the interim title. Jones appeared apologetic and remorseful in a press conference following the violation and stated, "Being labeled as a cheat hurts me more than anything else I've been through in my career." After another 15-month layoff, Jones returned to the cage to face Daniel Cormier in a rematch at UFC 214 in 2017. He had a far easier outing compared to the first fight and won by third-round TKO after connecting Cormier with a crushing head kick followed by a barrage of punches that forced the referee to intervene.
Johnny Bones with the ground and pound. Cormier trying to sit.
However, once again, his celebrations were cut short when he was notified of a potential doping violation. For the umpteenth time, Jones was stripped of his title and Cormier was reinstated as the champion. In 2019, Jones fought Thiago Santos and had a lot of trouble dealing with the Brazilian, and his most recent fight against Dominic Reyes in 2020 caused quite a stir among UFC fans, with many believing that Reyes was robbed of a clear victory. Jones, who many claim to be the greatest light heavyweight of all time, looked like a shell of his past self, and many believe his career is on a decline. In 2021, Jones made headlines again when he was arrested on charge of misdemeanor domestic violence after assaulting his wife and damaging a police vehicle in Las Vegas. The arrest happened just hours after his first Alexander Gustafsson fight was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. A few months later, Jones reached a plea deal and the charges were dismissed. However, he still had to face repercussions. Jones was banned from his longtime gym, Jackson Wink MMA, although two of his coaches, Greg Jackson and Brandon Gibson, had been working with him for his upcoming heavyweight title against Ciryl Gane. The fight is a massive one for Jones's legacy. If he manages to win the belt, denying him the GOAT status might become virtually impossible. It's a huge fight for Gane as well. Bongaman, aka the Good Kid, is eyeing legendary status, and the best way to achieve it is by taking out the legend himself, Jon Jones. Jon Jones is virtually undefeated. He has the most wins in UFC title fights, the most wins in the UFC light heavyweight division, and the longest undefeated streak in the promotion's history. As a fighter, there aren't many who come close to him. However, his destructive personal life and history with performance-enhancing drugs is tough to ignore. So what do you think? Is Jon Bones Jones a villain, a legend, or something in between? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed our video, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified the next time we upload a new video. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.